What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Relentless Runners podcast. You are listening to season 3, episode 6. I am your co-host, Christine.
And I'm Tony.
And we are the co-founders of Relentless Runners. We're an online run coaching team that provides one-on-one run coaching, strength, and running memberships. We have a team of incredible run coaches, and we partner with an amazing registered dietitian. And we started this podcast to share our running journeys and knowledge so you can follow along, learn, and grow as a runner.
So today we want to be totally transparent, and we wanted to provide a trigger warning because this episode is going to be a little bit different than what we have done previously. We're going to be talking a lot about mental health. We're going to be talking about suicide. And so if that is something that may be too difficult for you to hear, we encourage you to just pause this episode right now, and then you can come back when we have our next one. As you all know, for the last couple of months, we have decided to hit pause on recording this podcast just because with Christine navigating a really big loss. And so today we're going to talk a lot about like what she's been going through, what she's been navigating, how that's impacted her running, her life. And yeah, again, we hope to share awareness around this. And yeah, Christine, we just like are so appreciative of you coming back and being able to openly talk about everything. So, but I will leave it to you to take it from here.
Cool. Thank you. So yeah, it's kind of like one of those.
How do you start?
I don't know. I know. I was like, how do I where do I even start? But
yeah.
So I know there are some people who listen to the podcast, but perhaps don't follow us on Instagram. And so if you are one of those people, you've probably been like, where have you guys been for 2 months? And, we did not announce that we were taking a break from recording or anything like that. But if you do follow us on Instagram, then you would have seen on all of our pages that I had experienced a very unexpected loss of my brother, and that we were taking some time away from, like, me specifically, just from like social media and content creation and consumption and all the different things. So that is why there has been a 2-month pause. But where so we're going to address it. I want to share, excuse me, I want to share what happened in a specific amount of detail, or lack thereof rather, but I want to share what happened because I think it's important to show because this is such a prime example of showing stress on the body and its impact to running, performance, endurance.
And that was even something we talked about on our last episode, and it was because of everything that was going on that you'll talk about. But that was like a big part of our conversation last time too. Yeah, it was just the impact of stress.
I forgot about
on the body.
Yep.
Yeah,
I forgot that we had that conversation. So this would maybe even make a little bit more sense then to those who follow the podcast in like chronological order. So to back up a little bit, my older brother had been dealing with some mental health issues starting a while ago, but it's kind of like presented itself more visibly to our family in very beginning of January. And I was heavily involved with that, with him specifically. And so in some of the other episodes where I've talked about just like having some heavy life stuff going on and the impact that it was having to my running, that's what I was referring to. And the only reason that I'm openly talking about it now is because actually 2 months ago today, he had decided to take his own life. And it was obviously a very shocking, traumatic experience for my family. And so there was a lot of buildup to it. And he really battled very hard. Unfortunately, he lost that battle though. And so the day that it happened was a Friday morning, and I had just done all my athlete check-ins, and it's weird because I go back on some of those text messages with them and I'm like looking at like the timestamps of some of them, and I'm like, I literally was texting them like 30 minutes before I got the phone call where everything changed after that. And so anyways, obviously from that exact moment that I got the phone call, everything changed dramatically. And my perspective on everything changed in terms of what was important, literally everything in my life dropped, like everything from texting my athletes back to programming my athletes to posting on social media and everything. It all became secondary, including my running, and all that was important in that moment for a while after that day was being with my family and taking care of my kids. And than taking care of myself, which I am doing, you guys.
Yeah.
And I will get to that. But,
Yeah.
you know, I have 3 little kids who they would see my brother Nick all the time. And they didn't understand. And it was very confusing to them. And so I had to mourn the loss of my brother while also being a mom. Like,
like supporting them.
Like that talk, like,
I can't even imagine.
That's insane. Like, it's just like, that is insane to have to be. And I'm not one to not cry in front of my kids. Like, I'm strong. I know that. But I don't see there's anything wrong with crying in front of your kids. So my kids saw me cry. Trust me. They saw me lose it. They saw all of it. But when it came time for me to try to speak to them and to help them through the feelings of grief, which they were experiencing, I had to be strong for them and I had to walk them through that. And I had to try, like, you know, I took a piece of their innocent. I didn't tell my youngest one, like, Uncle Nick took his life. Like, I didn't say that because she's 4. Like, you know, that doesn't make any sense to her. But for my boys, I did tell them, like, I did because they were like, well, how did he die? And it was like, we had decided that we were not going to lie. Like, we were going to be honest because we knew that it would come out eventually. And we figured, let's just be honest so we can be the ones to tell them and we can be the ones to explain and we can be the ones to help them through that.
Absolutely.
And that was so, like, I don't ever want to have that conversation again because that was just very confusing. And it took a lot of conversations for them. I know I told you this. I won't go into like crazy detail of like exactly what I said, but I used the movie Inside Out to help explain to them. But it was confusing. It was confusing. So the movie Inside Out was really helpful in terms of like understanding emotions. Yeah. So I used that and that was helpful. But trying to grieve and process, even not even just grieve yet at that point. It wasn't even grief at that point. It was shock and adrenaline and just processing what we just witnessed. That is, and then at the same time trying to be strong for your kids is like, it's wild. It's so wild. So anyways, you know, we got through that. And obviously you, Tony, are just my soulmate because you took over literally we are
soulmates.
We totally are. It's why it's awesome having a business partner because had I been alone, I would have had to show up regardless of not wanting to. And literally, Tony was one of the first phone calls that I made when I got the phone call. And she like dropped everything and picked up all of my athletes, all of my check-ins, all of my programming, every aspect of the business that I personally do, because we split tasks and things. Like, she took over. And so hearts to you. I know you are. I'm like tearing. Feel the love there.
No.
But I truly wouldn't have been able to, because like I was fully present with my family during that time. Like, you know, my sister came in that night from Michigan and my brother came in from Washington a couple days later. And it was like, I was able to be fully present and, you know, plan a funeral, honestly, and help my mom because my mom is struggling. And I was able to be there for her in that sense. And so, and my kids and everything. So I didn't run for 2 weeks from that day. And I didn't want to. I didn't care to. I had no interest in doing it. I just couldn't. Like, I couldn't get my body to go. And I was okay with that. I didn't care. And like, I made the choice. So I was at that point, I was 3 weeks out from the Buffalo Half Marathon that I had been training for. And I was like, oh, well, I'm not running this. Like, that's crazy for me to even think that my body could handle that kind of just everything. Like, you know what goes into just like leading up to a half. Like, it's not just physical, it's very mental. Like, you've got to plan, you've got to strategize, you've got to visualize all the things. Like, that was not happening.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm pulling out of the Buffalo Half. I couldn't have cared less. Like, I was like, whatever.
Yeah. I remember that because I checked in on you that day, and I know you said Carly did too, and you're like, oh yeah, I forgot it was this day. I don't care. I'm fine.
On the day, on the day that the half was supposed to be, which was Memorial Day weekend, I had people text me. I had people on Instagram too, like, oh, just thinking of you today. I was like, oh yeah, I guess it is the day that I was supposed to run. I didn't care, like, because what it did for me was put things, and you know, you hear people talk about this, like when they go through a big loss or some like life-changing thing, is it puts things into perspective. And it's so true because like for me, I saw a lot of it with like, well, like the race. Yeah. I was like, oh, who cares? Like there's another race. Like I run Buffalo like every year. Like who cares? Like sure, I was getting in shape and things were clicking and like, you know, whatever. But it truly was like, I don't care. There's more important things in this world than a race.
Yeah.
And then social media was like the
That was a
biggest
big
ick
one
for me.
Yeah, I remember.
I mean, even still a little bit today, like 2 months later, but like it was the biggest ick for me because I was like, I would open the app just out of pure habit, you know?
Sure.
And I would open it and I would see the first thing that would come up. It didn't even matter what it was. It could have been a cute video of a puppy. It wouldn't have even mattered. And I was just like, who cares? Like,
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with the person or what they were posting, obviously. Like,
Sure.
It's not on them. It was just on me of like, my brother just died. I don't care about anything that I'm seeing right now. So
yeah,
I obviously
this
wasn't
is all insignificant.
Yeah, it was just like, who cares? Like, you know, we put such a huge emphasis on social media and it's such a large part of what we do here at, you know, is our business. So obviously we rely heavily on it, which was kind of hard for me to accept too, because I was like, well, you know, the more that I create, the more that I show up, the more business that we get. And I was like, I don't care. It's not that I didn't care about the business, but I think where I felt peace in that and reassurance was that my athletes were not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Every single one of my athletes are thoroughly amazing. Like I don't coach 100 runners, right? Like we keep our benches tight knit because we provide high quality coaching. So every single one of my athletes were absolutely amazing. I couldn't speak higher of them because they all gave me space. They all sent me like customized teddy bears for the kids. They sent me gift cards. They sent me handwritten notes. They sent me like just love, like so much. They're like, listen, we're fine. And I knew that you had them. So I wasn't worried about them, but they were all like, we're not going anywhere. Like, don't worry. Like, we're not going anywhere. Like, you just get through what you have to get through. And they understood. And so from a business perspective, like, it was fine. We were fine. We were totally fine.
Actually, you and I even reflected on this like last year. For those who don't know, last year we went through a full business restructuring because we wanted to restructure things so we could run our business in a more sustainable way. Christine and I were like making it work, but we were running ourselves ragged. And so this is where like a time like this, it made me appreciate, because that was really difficult last year. Like it sounds all sexy when you talk about it, but that was really difficult navigating that and just working through it and going through changes and hard conversations. But hindsight a year later, it was like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that we did that because it paid off and it allowed us not to say, because you can't plan for situations like this to happen, but it allowed you to just like focus on your people. And that was a big conversation, because you would have moments where you're like, I remember you texted me about, it was something with social media of like, oh, you had like an idea for something and you're like, I had to like stop myself. And we just talked about like right now the priority is like just athletes, and that's okay. Like, like just focusing on your athletes like is helping the business. And I think like for you and I, it's like we're constantly in this place of like, what else can we do? What else can we do? What else can we do? And so it was like an active effort on your end too, to just kind of like constantly pull yourself back of like, this isn't actually necessary right now. This doesn't have to be done right now.
Which was hard because with our mind, like we're entrepreneurs and we're successful entrepreneurs. And in order to be a successful entrepreneur, you have to have that mindset of like, what else can I do? What more can I do? What more value can I add? You never settle. And that's why we've been successful to where we are today. So for me to pull back from that was like, I haven't done that in a very long time. So
You're like, how do I do this?
Yeah, and like you said, there were times when you had to kind of like, I had to pump the brakes of like, that was like that was kind of like fast forward a little bit when I was like trying to be like, okay, like maybe I'm going to post something, or like I kind of want to create something. And you know, because I didn't post anything for a week, but then and then the post that I did put up was the funeral post of just like, hey guys, just because I totally ghosted everything. I stories, posts, everything. And then a week later I came in and just like said like, this is what happened. But so anyways, being able to rely on you and just be fully present and then just kind of see the things that were actually important and like put everything into perspective. And I keep trying to remind myself like not to lose sight of a lot of that. Even now, 2 months. I mean, 2 months this is still very raw and fresh and we're still dealing with a lot. But still, like, I don't want to lose sight of some of those very strong feelings that I had in the beginning that have, in terms of like that perspective, things that can quickly fade if you don't kind of hang on to that. So when it comes to the running, so one of the things that I wanted to talk about and share specifically is the impact that the stress and the trauma and the grief that I have been going through has impacted my body in a physical way, which relates obviously to running. So it's been interesting because I've always used running as like a way to relieve stress, in a way as an outlet to me for both physically and mentally. And like, it's always been that way. It's why I have always loved running. And I've always like, well, I'm never going to stop running. Right. I didn't run for 2 weeks, which was no big deal. I've done that before. Again, I know I already said this, but like, I didn't have an interest in running. I didn't want to run. I didn't care for it. I just wanted to sleep in because my husband took the entire week off after that happened, leading up to like the funeral and everything, which was like a whole weekend later. And like, I stayed up late. I was having a hard time sleeping. I wasn't, it was like, so I wasn't going to get up early and run. And I didn't want to run in the middle of the day because I was over with my family. Like, so it was like the running just wasn't there.
Sure.
I felt very fatigued in so many different ways without even like working out. It was just crazy. And it was that was like the effect, the physical impact, the stress was, I don't want to just say stress because it was more than just stress. We'll say trauma.
Yeah. Trauma
truly was having on me. And, when it comes to mental health and when you're very close to someone who does commit suicide, that brings another layer of grief to losing someone and I'll just be like super raw and transparent. Like the guilt that comes with that is overwhelming. And I have a lot of that because of how close I was with Nick and how closely I was helping him through that time or trying to help him. And so there is a lot there. And I will say I am going to therapy. I've never been to therapy. This was my first. And I know we always talked about it, like go to therapy. And like you've shared very openly about your experience. And I'm sure I could have used it throughout many different situations in my life, but there was never anything that kind of like pushed me over the edge to go do it, And ironically enough, I was going to go when we were kind of at the height of Nick battling the mental health because I was struggling so much with just dealing with that alone. And so anyways, I started going and it's been absolutely great. I was going, I think after 2 weeks after it happened, I started going like once a week and I've started EMDR. I've done a couple of sessions of that, which is a whole nother topic in itself. But, I'm working through a lot and I'm feeling a lot better when it comes to a lot of the big feelings that I was having around what happened. And I also think that as a result of the time that has passed and actually processing, like literally processing what happened in my brain through the therapy and through the EMDR, that I am starting to feel good running again. So back to the running stuff, because I think that what I've noticed from what I have shared on social media, because I've been open about what happened and I've been open about like to some extent, and I've been open about like how I wasn't running and how things weren't feeling good. And then I've been running at this point, but I've had people like DM me, and I know everyone means well. Like I know every person means well in this situation, but sometimes it's just like, yo, everyone's different. Everyone is different. Everyone processes things differently. Everyone's body needs different things.
Yep.
For me, I didn't want to run those first 2 weeks. I couldn't have even fathomed going for a run. And I would have people messaging me being like, I don't understand how you're not running. Like, don't you want to run? Like
when you said that, I was like,
I started to, yes.
Yeah.
And
I
I
was
started
like,
to get like mad.
Yeah.
and I've had like multiple people repeating also the same message. And it's like, if you want to run in the midst of trauma, you go right ahead. And I am running again at this point, but I am not running at the capacity of what I typically do, right? Like I'm not doing that. And for people to message me and just, it's like whatever, it's like in any situation that we post on social media, it's like, well, that's not what I do. Or that's not
it's
my
like
life.
if we had to create like we would have to have asterisks and nuances, and that's just you can't do that.
Yeah.
Like of course there's nuance to everyone is so different and individual.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And as it should be, right? Like that's the beauty of being a human being, is that we're different and we're unique. And so just, I guess, a message too, to like, if my trauma and my response to it with running or lack thereof is different than yours, it doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong or by running, or and vice versa. If you are not able to run, or you don't want to run, or your body just doesn't respond to it well in the midst of trauma or loss, doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. That's just and you have to just respect it. I did not force it. I could have so easily been like, no, Christine, like you have to go on this run. Like, you'll feel better after this run. Like you have to go. I could have done that. And maybe I would have felt better. But honestly, like I am very big. I respect my body. I do not force things. And I think that is attributed to a lot of my success when it comes to my running and my longevity in this sport, is I do not force things. If it's not right, it's not right. And I respect that. And so I got some of those comments and I was just like, well, you have no idea you don't know the full story. Like I did not share that this was suicide. Like I think a lot of people could kind of read between the lines, and if people asked, I would tell them like in DMs and stuff, but I didn't like come out and say that. And like people, even you guys listening now, like you have no idea the extent of what happened and like my involvement in it and the impact that it's had on me. So to like, and I know people mean well, but sometimes I'm just like,
it's just like, have some feel.
If you all like, just say, okay. You do you, boo boo. Like it's okay.
Yeah.
So I didn't run for 2 weeks, and then I ran the second week, and the only reason I really did, honestly, is because I had the Bandit Grand Prix a week later in New York City. And so 3 weeks after he died, I went to New York City and I ran the Bandit Grand Prix. I would not have probably run at that point had I not had it. And I'm kind of glad I did. Like, I think it kind of like ripped the Band-Aid off for me a little bit, but I had agreed. I was doing that for a brand deal and it was all set in stone. Like everything was booked. And I did tell my rep there, like what happened. And they're like, if you don't want to come, it's totally fine. And I was like, I actually think it'll be good for me because I live in a very small town. Everyone knows everybody. Everybody knew what happened. Everywhere you go, it was like, so I was kind of like, I kind of want to get out of town.
Like escape a little bit. Yeah.
And Audrey and her husband were coming and I was like, and it was a big deal for them to leave their kids and everything. And so, like that was their first time. Audrey's like first time leaving. And so like, that was a big thing for her. And I was like, I'm not going to back out on this.
Yeah.
And so Bobby went and Audrey and her husband went and we had so much fun.
Yeah.
There was a lot that reminded me of Nick. Part of when he was going through his mental health struggles, he went out to New York City. We're like 6 hours from New York City. He like went out there and there was I was coincidentally like 3 blocks from where our hotel was. And I had no idea until my dad like checked my location. He's like, you're like literally right there. And I was like, what? Like it is, there was a couple other things. Yeah, it was weird. And there was a couple other things that were like, hi, Nick. Like it was like these weird signs or whatever. And the race itself was insanely hard. Like I ran that 5K and I thought my lungs were being ripped out of my body and I ran it at slower than like my marathon pace. It was brutal.
Yeah.
But I just told me I was just going to go and have fun and I ripped it and I qualified for the next like heat. And so then I had to go rip another 3K like an hour and a half later, 2 hours later. That was a little brutal. But I did it. And I also felt like I was just carrying a lot. And so that's what it's been like for this, I'd say like the last month. And I would say in the last like week, things have started to click a little bit better. So within after that point, I was like, okay, I'm going to like ease back into running, and like my coach would put stuff on the calendar and I would kind of just like do whatever I wanted, to be totally honest.
Yeah.
And there was no pressure from her. I was like, well, I don't
Yeah.
have any races on the calendar. I just want to we're just going to ease back into things. So that's what we did. And I would do like a 3 mile here. And, when I first started getting back into it, I told all my friends that I run with, I was like, I'm just going to go out alone. Like nothing personal, but like, I just want to run by myself and be in my thoughts. And I would either listen to nothing or I'd listen to like really calm, like worship music that like would just bring me peace. And then I would like listen to nothing. And it was just like, I'd let my mind wander and then like all these things. And it was good. It was like, I needed that. I just needed to be out there running by myself in like my own head.
Yeah.
And so I did that for a little bit. And then this was like, things like one week I'd gotten to like 27 miles and I was like, oh, this feels good. Like things started feeling good. And then like the next week, that Monday, I did a speed workout on a Monday because of like scheduling that week or whatever. And so I bailed in the middle of my workout. I was by myself. I went to the track. My body. So this is where I kind of want to talk about specifically when it comes to running and like grief and carrying a lot of things, because my body physically was so like heavy, like not like pounds heavy, right? But
I
like
know what you mean.
heavy.
Yeah. It
You know what I
feels
mean?
like lead. I've had that
No.
before when I started therapy. I think I said this to you, but when I started therapy like years ago and I was like working through like the early stages of like addressing trauma from a while ago that I never did, that was my first time experiencing that. And it was like the weirdest sensation of like, I got plenty of sleep. I ate, like I fueled my body. I'm hydrated. And like your legs just feel like bricks. It's so wild.
It's weird. And it wasn't even just my legs. It was like every inch of my body I could feel.
Yeah.
In a weird way when I was trying to do that workout. And like you said, like I did all the things I normally do.
Yeah.
I fueled and slept and all the things, warmed up properly, all the things. And I was like, the second I started running the warm up, I was like, ooh, something's very off. Like this does not feel normal. I was like, okay, just get to the track, which is like a mile from my house. And so I did like a 2.5 mile warm up and I got there and I was like, have not loosened up, but I was like, we're going to one rep at a time. Right. So I was like, it was a 400, 400, 800, which I was a little intimidated by 800. So I was like, all right, we're just going to go with it. Like if I have to slow down, whatever. And so I do the first 400 and I was like a little slower than I was supposed to do, but it felt awful. I was like, this should not feel this hard. And so I did the recovery and I was like, okay, just one more, like get through the next one. So I start the next one, the next 400, and halfway through, I was like, I feel like I am jogging right now and I am dying in my body. My legs cannot unlock. I could not extend my gait. I could not do anything. And I was like, I'm done. Like, I'm not going to force this. Like I know I have run a long time and I've done enough workouts to know that today is not my day. So I stopped the workout and I like jog walked home. And that was on a Monday. And so that Wednesday was scheduled, and this is why I think I had a bad workout, was scheduled for my first EMDR therapy session. And I think there was a lot of anticipation leading into that appointment. And I was really nervous for it.
Yeah, you were.
So for anyone, and it was just like, I didn't know what to expect. And I was like doing all this reading about it and talking about it and like watching videos on like what it does and how it works. And it's just it's for anyone who doesn't know, it's like, I can't even think of what the acronym is, like eye movement desensitization, something. It's a therapy tactic technique to help you process trauma. And it's insane, by the way. We'll talk about that another time. But I think I was like really anticipating that, in that my body was holding on to it's almost like, because of all the reading and the talk that I did with my therapist leading into that appointment, it's like I knew that appointment was going to help me process what just happened. Like I knew that was the start of it. It's almost like my body was like building up this anticipation to get ready to process this. I don't know. I'm not a psychologist. I don't know. But that's just my like psychoanalytic whatever take on this. And so I didn't run the rest of that week. I ran 3.5 miles total that week, which was that workout in the whole week. And so a whole week goes by and I was just like, I did the session on Thursday or Wednesday or whatever. And I did it. And then, the day after that, I felt really emotionally heavy from that. So then I was like, well, and it was like, again, it was like, you should have run and that would have helped you. And it was like, heck
Yeah.
no, dude, because Bobby's back to work. Therefore, the only time that I can run is before, work and school and all the things.
Yeah.
And that means I have to go to bed early. And that means that I have to get a good night's sleep to get up to be able to do that. And that night I was like still processing that day. And so I was like, whatever, I just didn't run. And then the next week was last week. No, the week before. I can't remember. I'm losing track of time.
I know, me too.
And yeah. And then I think it was a couple weeks ago that happened. And then like last week was a good week and things have started to click again. This week has been a good week. And I had another EMDR session last week and it did not derail me like the first one did because I knew what to expect. I didn't go into it nervous. Like I was okay going into it.
Yeah.
But even like, this week things have been going well and I am starting to get into a groove again. And like yesterday I had a workout. I did a 7-mile workout on my treadmill and it was 400s and 800s and 200s and I was fine.
Yeah.
And like I was fine. And it's like I've started to process stuff and I know it's going to take a long time. It's only been 2 months. Obviously, it's still very raw and there's still a lot to process, but like the process has started though. And I felt less heavy yesterday emotionally and physically than I did just a couple weeks ago. And so again, it's just kind of about taking time and respecting that and not forcing running just because you run. Just like you guys, obviously I run. I have an entire business on running. Like this is what I do for a livelihood. But I know when to back off and I know when to stop running and to respect life and what's happening in life. And I think that that's the message that I'm trying to get across today is like, don't just run because you think you have to run. Running is not therapy. And I know that people throw that around a lot, but
oh, I hate that.
I think
it's like my biggest
I know.
pet peeve. Yeah.
And I think that it's a great use of time to help you work through things 100%. It helps. I understand it like keeps your sanity and all the things. And I get that.
Yeah.
It's a tool. It's not a fix though. I think that's only just true therapy and like actually doing that kind of work. But yeah, like even my therapist told me like when I first went and I had to give her the rundown of just like what kind of person I am, which I'm a very structured, very routine, very like I got my stuff put together.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, but I haven't been running. And she's like, it's kind of funny. She said she's been around for a long time, as a therapist for a long time. And she's like, I don't see a ton of endurance athletes. And the reason is because of how much they run and do endurance athletes, they use that as therapy. But that doesn't mean that they don't need to come in and talk about stuff. And she's like, I have a lot of runners and, or not a lot, but she has seen like a handful of like endurance athletes who are working through things. And she had talked to me about like, especially in that first like month, like when I first started going to her and I told her I had that race in New York City, she's like, don't overdo it. She's like, if you push yourself too hard, which I probably pushed myself too hard, but I didn't get injured. She's like, if you push yourself too hard, your body might quote break in a way. Yeah. And she's like, you are very easily like susceptible to get injured or just like burnt out. She's like, you also may have this like overflow of emotion in the midst of it, which actually almost happened to me. And I kind of like shoved it down, I won't lie, in the 5K that I did for the Bandit Grand Prix. Because even somebody, when I said I wasn't going to run Buffalo on social media, they're like, no, you should run it. Do it for your brother. Do it in honor of your brother. And I was like, and have a panic attack at mile 3 because all of a sudden my breathing gets hard and I start to like get uncomfortable, like physically, right? Like rightfully so, right? And then start to release all these emotions. Like you guys have all raced, most likely. You know how racing can be emotional and that you can start crying at mile 10 for no freaking reason just because you're excited that, or like the emotions come out because you're almost done or because you're in the pain cave. And it's like, I don't need to have a release of emotions on the course and have a panic attack. No, I will not be racing Buffalo. So it's like things like that and
I'm biting my tongue. I just want you to know. Yeah, that just.
I know.
But people just have, again, it's like just respecting it just blows my mind sometimes with the balls that they have to share perspectives like that.
Yeah.
Insert
I
themselves.
think it all means well. I think
does.
it's just yeah, I don't know.
No. Well, again, I'm proud of you for, like, unlearning doesn't feel like the right word, but you have had to learn how to do things differently, and just like giving yourself grace has been a big challenge that you're getting so good at, because you're able to differentiate. Like, you're no longer associating with just like needing, whether it's like extra time or space, or like whatever it is, or like a little bit less. Like, at first there was a lot of like self-judgment around that in different aspects of your life, and you've done such a good job. And I know therapy is a big part of it, but just like you've done such a good job on just like giving yourself the space to grieve. Because back to what you're saying, like, you didn't say this, but like you said it without saying it, that it's like there's no timeline, like when it comes to grief and like navigating it and working through it. You can't force, like, I know in the beginning it's like, okay, you think like maybe at this certain place, like I'll be fine, I'll be okay. And it may be before that, it may be after that, but you've done a really good job on just like taking I'm gonna sound running, taking things in stride and taking it like one step at a time. And that's really all that you can do. And I think celebrating these like healing wins along the way, because you know, with the running and like having that workout that you did yesterday, you had texted Audrey and I, and you're like so excited because you're like, oh my God, like I was able to do it. And like it probably felt really good, because it shows like that moment right there. It's not about being able to execute the workout, it's that the hard work that you've been doing outside of the running, and that's like in therapy and in your day-to-day, that has like led you to that moment. And so I know you're going to continue to like keep doing that. But yeah, it's I'm just really proud of you, and thank you again for just taking the time to like open up and share. And you know, you got all of us backing you and cheering you on as you continue to work through everything too.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
No, I know everyone's been so good and awesome, and like checking in, like not just like my friends and like some of my close friends, like daily text messages and things like that. And
Yeah.
and then like you guys and my athletes and everything have all just been awesome. And it definitely felt the love. And I think you and I were talking about this offline a little bit, just about like not just with like not just like my athletes messages, right, of like support and love and condolences and things like that, and but like other athletes on the team too that I do not personally coach. I had messages from them, and like Tony, you compiled a 27-page document 27 pages, and I read of written notes of love and support from the team, like a little paragraph or a little blurb from all these different athletes, all of my athletes, other athletes on the team that I don't personally coach. Tony, you compiled it all into a document, like a PDF, and it was 27 pages. And I read through every single one of those. It's like overwhelming. And it was like all of the athletes just being like, we're here. Like you had people, athletes, not just other coaches on the team, but athletes reaching out to you saying, do you need help running the business? Like,
no, literally.
Do you need help with anything?
Literally, even Carly was like, yo, you need with programming. Like athletes were like, hey, like, do you need help running the business? Do I need help with like programming? I'm like, you guys, you're amazing.
Yeah.
It was wild. It was so, it just
shows the support of the community. You know, they all really came together. And I think that that's a huge testament to Relentless Runners. And it's not just the siloed coaching that we have, and we've talked about that before. Like that's not what this team is. It is a one big team, and we have 4 coaches who coach one-on-one, but this team as a whole, like I have connected with some of your athletes and vice versa. And I've connected with Lauren's and Audrey's athletes and all around, and we all kind of like know each other. And it's this huge team atmosphere. And it came to bat when this happened. And like people offering to help run the business, people offering to help program athlete plans so I could have time with my family. Like, who does that, right? Like people who care and who love. That's who does it.
Yeah.
And that's huge.
It's not my grief. It's not my trauma. And that, like, seeing the like how everybody showed up for you made me cry so many times, like over a span of like weeks. Just it just made me realize just how special what we have. I'm gonna get emotional, but it just like put into perspective of just how special of like our team and what we have is. Like it was just really cool because yeah, it's just and it's so hard because like we are obviously we're a coaching business. You can say all you want, like, oh yeah, we're actually a team, but it's like no, we really are. Like you said, everybody like showed up just in such a massive way, and it was just like really awesome to be able to see everybody just like pour into you in a time that you really needed it, just like how you pour into everybody else. And that was like the common thread in the message that people would always say is like, she does so much for us. And we all know that. So to be able to show up for you when you really needed it was really, really cool to see. But
I love our team.
I know. I love us. But I feel like it's good to wrap up there if you feel good too.
Yeah.
But you know, right now, I think we'll do another episode in a few weeks. I think eventually we will get back to like our normal cadence of, you know, usually we have like about 3 episodes a month or whatever, and we'll get back to there. But right now, we're going to start with like a couple episodes a month and see how that goes. But yeah, for everyone listening, we just appreciate you for all of you who have reached out, messaged, supported Christine, supported us. Just thank you as always for being here. And yeah, we'll see you guys in a couple of weeks.
Bye, guys.
Bye.